Today we're going to be talking about the brand new Blazar Remus 85mm t2.8 anamorphic lens from Blazar. Now I am going to be reviewing this lens, so make sure to watch the entire video, but in order to really do this lens justice in terms of showing you what it is capable of, I decided to put together a narrative sci-fi thriller short film. With the exception of a couple shots, I made this short film entirely by myself. There is a short sequence in the middle of the film where I had to use some other lenses, and you'll understand why when you get to it. But otherwise, the entire short was shot on the Blazar Remus 85mm, and I think it'll give you a good sense of what this lens can do. After that, I'm going to be showing you some interior and exterior test footage of different variables regarding the lens as I give you my thoughts on the lens, so stick around after the short. Hey.
Hey, Steven. How's it going?
Oh my gosh, I wish you guys could see this. It looks absolutely insane.
Is it totally dark there?
Not yet. Yeah, totality should be in any second now, really.
Are you sure you're gonna be okay by yourself?
Yes, I'm gonna be fine without you. This is not the...
Okay, but last time you called the police.
I remember calling the police last time. That's not gonna happen this time. Thanks for the reminder.
Okay, well, did you take your meds?
Yes, I'm taking my meds. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I'm probably just gonna watch some movies and edit the footage, and I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Call if you get anxious.
Okay. Tell the kids I love them, alright? Oh, it's happening. It's happening. Alright.
We
Love you. Bye. hope you enjoyed that short film. I hope you got a little bit of a sense of what this bad boy is capable of. It was difficult to make that short with an anamorphic non-autofocus lens all by myself. There were 2 shots that my wife did help with, but otherwise it was tricky to make that. But given that, you know, it was an entirely solo short film done just in a couple of days, I'm pretty proud of the result, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. But let's get to what we're all here for, which is this brand new lens that released today, the Remus 85mm t2.8 lens. So first impressions of this lens, it's actually surprisingly very small. You might think, oh, that's a big honking lens compared to, you know, one of your autofocus photo lenses. If you take a look at the lenses from Atlas or Panavision, you know, traditional cinema anamorphic lenses, those babies are massive, massive. So this is tiny. The visual quality that we're getting out of this, the capability that we're getting out of this is insane for such a small lens. This is nothing new. Blazar already has, you know, a line of lenses, and there's plenty of anamorphics out there, but build quality, fantastic. You know, it's got very smooth focusing and aperture rings. It's all marked properly. There's nice big marking for what type of lens this is without it being covered by the cap as well, which surprisingly is weirdly a nice little time saver when you're pulling lenses out of a case. I think the silver looks killer. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. So good looking lens, but also extraordinary image, which we'll get into now. So this is a 1.5x stretch, and you might be asking, why not 1.33x to get a 240 aspect ratio with a 16:9 sensor, or why not a 2x stretch to get those like super ovally bokehs? Part of it is just, this is the perfect middle ground. It is compatible with 4x3 full sensors, but it's also obviously compatible with 16:9, gets you very close to that 240 aspect ratio with a little bit of cropping in on the sides. You get really nice oval bokeh shape. You will not be disappointed in this lens. It's not like past cheap anamorphic lenses where, you know, the bokeh is kind of ugly and it's kind of a mess. You get really nice, clean, oval bokeh here, which is fantastic. And if you're thinking T2.8, well, some of their other lenses are a little bit faster at T2. How am I going to get that nice shallow depth of field? How am I going to get that oval bokeh at T2.8? Think again. I would even say T2.8 is like too soft on this lens. There are some use cases, which I'll show you, in which it works depending on the look and the style that you're going for. I would highly recommend T4. You still get a really nice shallow depth of field. You can still get really clean bokeh. The lens characteristics in general clean up quite a bit at T4, T5.6, T8, but you still, because of that long lens compression, you still get a really nice shallow depth of field. I also found that the focus is a lot more forgiving at those T-stops. When you're at T2.8, it's very, very shallow and you can barely get both eyes in focus. Now, in terms of focal length, I find 85mm to be a good medium shot lens. If you picture, you know, like in a Western, 2 characters facing off against one another, you can get sort of close enough to them. It's not necessarily an intimate lens, but it can still capture the intimacy of the characters' faces, etc. So it's a great medium lens. It's also a great close-up lens. The close focus on this lens is about 2 feet is where I measured it. I didn't have any of the specs to this lens beforehand, so everything that I'm conveying here is just from my own findings, but it's about 2 feet and you can get a really nice close-up. Now, this is not an extreme close-up lens. This is not a macro lens. For that, you are going to have to use diopters, but I used diopters on this lens for some of my extreme close-ups in the short, and it looked absolutely fantastic. As a close-up lens, you get a really nice, clean, big image with, again, those oval bokehs. I think you'll be very pleased with this lens. In terms of image, just to my eye and from the footage that I collected, this lens doesn't seem to be a super contrasty lens, which is I've found to be nice. It's very sort of forgiving in how it sort of renders fall off. You can always add sort of that crunchy contrastiness in post, which I did in this short film, but in of itself, it seems to be a slightly softer lens in terms of its contrast. It's not very punchy or crispy, which I think is a good thing. Now, in testing the flares, I found them to be a bit thick, and they tend to be, you know, either single band or dual band. I wasn't totally crazy about the characteristic of these flares until I stopped down to about T4 and below. Then you start to get a nice sunburst effect at the point of origin of your light. This particular lens is also silver streak, which I know a lot of YouTubers are not fans of the blue lens flares. I am a diehard fan of the blue flares. To me, that's just classic, and I just love the way it looks. I love that it adds some color contrast if you're doing sort of tungsten-y scenes. It's nice to have those little pockets of blue. So I'm personally a big fan of this. However, I can see the utility of the silver flare, which is what I had, because you can use blue lights to create blue flare, or warm lights to create more of that amber flare. And it gives you sort of that more neutral look that you would see in something like the Batman, which I'm fairly certain had more of a silver flare to the lenses, but I could be mistaken. For the short film, I wasn't able to use this lens for sort of my, I'll call it the IMAX sequence, partially because if I backed up any further in order to get the whole house in view, I'd have to take out the fence in my backyard or dig a hole, which I think actually would look fantastic on an 85mm. I think it sort of goes against our instincts. You know, you think that it's sort of a close, tighter lens, but actually movies that feel big, like, you know, J.J. Abrams movies or Michael Bay or Christopher Nolan, a lot of the times they'll use longer lenses. Dune is a great example because it compresses those large scale background elements with the foreground heroes. So it has almost like that video game effect of making the foreground characters look small against the massive compressed background. So I would have loved to have used this lens on some of those shots, but unfortunately I just wasn't able to get far back enough. So I had to switch to spherical for sort of that IMAX sequence. There is a lot more to discuss with this lens, and I would love to compare it with some of the other Blazar lenses. I just don't have access to them at the moment, and I haven't had this lens for very long, so I wasn't able to do a super technical review. But I always find that a lot of the value that I can bring you is showing over telling, and, you know, saying, okay, this is a movie style lens. Okay, then let's make a movie. Let's see how it looks in a little short movie. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of this format. But what are my overall thoughts on the lens? I think that overall this is a gorgeous lens. Again, it sounds weird to say because a lot of these lenses from Blazar have been said to be have a lot of character, a lot of flaws, optical flaws. And I think some of that is still there. You know, it's a sub $1,000 lens or somewhere around $1,000. But I think because of the compression of it being a longer lens, it surprisingly ends up being pretty clean, especially when you stop down to T4. Now you can get some of that dirtiness back in if you open up to T2.8. There is a decent amount of chromatic aberration. I think that's probably the biggest optical flaw of this lens, which I am not a fan of that. I know some of you like it. You know, again, for this price, it's a little bit, what do you expect? Otherwise, I think that this is a really beautiful lens. So to have these kinds of lenses and to be able to get a whole set of them for like, what, $3,000, that is just absolutely insane. And I know a lot of the times viewers will watch these videos and they'll be like, affordable, what? But like, I don't know, go on a movie set. Movies, gear, all this stuff, it's expensive. $1,000 for this is absolutely insane. Sorry, but that is cheap. Like, you can come after me in the comments, but that's cheap in this field. I also think that some of the optical flaws of these Blazar lenses work really well because they are anamorphic. I don't quite understand why you would go for a clean set of anamorphics. In my mind, there's not actually a practical use for anamorphics anymore, because it used to be practically to stretch the image and then it would be de-stretched in a theater on a projector lens. That's obviously not the case anymore. That's not at all a part of the pipeline. It's all in a digital pipeline now. So there's not a practical reason to do that. So it's purely aesthetic. And the aesthetic is nothing if not nostalgic, or it just looks interesting and it looks cool. So I think having a little bit of flaws makes a lot of sense for these kinds of lenses. Are there uses for cleaner lenses? Sure. But also I think, you know, at that point, maybe just go spherical. Having said that, I think you'll be surprised that this lens is fairly clean, but I still gotta do some tests with it against like a chart to get a clear sense for that. So overall, I think this is a fantastic lens. I think it worked great for sort of this sci-fi thriller type of throwback short, and I cannot wait to shoot more stuff on this lens. And I've already ordered my own 45mm, and I'm really looking to fill out this set over time because I think these are fantastic. I think these are the best low budget anamorphic lenses that I've worked with so far. If you guys enjoyed the short film, keep an eye out for the next video that I'm going to make, where I'm going to be breaking down how I made the short film, be getting into more of the details and tips and tricks of how I put together by myself on such a quick turnaround. And I'm Scott Jeske. Thank you all for watching. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.